Good morning, everybody, and afternoon or evening if you're listening or watching later on. You don't have to be watching live, although we're grateful for those of you that are. Hi, welcome to the Charlotte Show. I'm Charlotte. I've got with me, I'm Charlotte Robson today on my thingy. I'm going to take that off. Today I've got with me Thomas Concannon from the NUFC Trust. Many of you will know that I too am on the trust board, but I wanted to get Thomas on this morning to talk about the 1892 pledge scheme, which I'm sure none of you have heard of yet. But if you haven't, we'll give you a little overview of that. And I'll ask Thomas, because Thomas has really been part of the trust since for a long time. Since when, Thomas?
You've made us think now. 2019, yeah, 2019.
Yeah, for a long time.
Early 2019.
Really been involved in this process, and I think because I joined the trust board in October, so I think Thomas is a really good person to give us a bit of an overview and sort of where's this come from, how has it happened. Before I do that, though, Thomas, immediate facial reaction. We've got Dubravka, Murphy, Fernandez, Clark, Dummett, Ritchie, Choncho, Shelvey as captain, Sean Longstaff, Miguel Almiron, Joe Linton, and Dwight Gale starting today. Wilson's on the bench, so that's good, and so is St. Max. So some impact subs for us there in the 78th minute, as Steve Bruce will probably do. You mull that over, because I'll get a little bit more from you on the upcoming game. Before you go, Thomas is only joining us for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to let him do his socially distanced garden hello with a friend. And then, it's cold. And Norman Riley will be joining me, and then Alex Hurst will be joining me. So it's like a real party. Also, I don't know if people can tell, but this eye won't stop twitching, and I don't know why. So I'm aware it's annoying. Thomas, the 1892 pledge scheme, an ambitious fan-led money-raising project to one day own a stake in Newcastle United. What was your first reaction when this was brought up, like by Norman and Alex? Maybe when you joined the board.
Yeah, so I was co-opted onto the board initially, and so everyone was sort of in full swing at the time, and so I was playing catch up a little bit. I think my first reaction was I was intrigued. Something like this had never been done before, so I dare say nerves a little bit as well about it. But a lot of it was obviously sitting back and watching Alex and Norman, and they were doing a lot of the work all the way through, and I was just trying to chip in when I could. I'm no expert on stuff like this, but it was just trying to chip in when I could, sort of give a little bit of fan feeling as to how people might react. Obviously we're all fans anyway, but it was just just trying to, like I say, just chip in when I can, and try and take it on board and run it by a few people that might know a little bit more, and just and feed that back to the board.
So positive but nervous and stuff. I think that's kind of how I felt as well. Like, it's always dare I say, like, difficult when you're asking people for money. It's a big thing, and you'll know that from the flags and stuff like that. It's a big thing, people's hard-earned cash, and Newcastle United have asked for a lot of it from us over the years for very little return. So hopefully we'll have a return on this. It's been a really positive start, I think. We're up on to about coming up on £45,000 pledged already. We've only been going since Thursday morning. We've only been live. The website crashed several times. We had several problems with international payments, which was a bit of a unexpected twist in the tale. Are you confident? How are you feeling? Do you just feel like crying every time you look at the total, like I do?
A little bit, and I've had a couple of mates say exactly the same, because I think that they were overwhelmed at the start. I think it's Thursday and Friday just seemed to fly. The amount of stuff that everyone was getting involved in, me just DMs on Twitter or whatever, just talking to as many people as you possibly could, try and persuade them around. It's just been an incredible start. I didn't see it going as high as what it has. The amount in the initial 72 hours. Yeah, it is very, very overwhelming. I'm sort of looking forward to it calming down and, and it just sort of becoming a natural thing. And once we've got the word out there as much as we possibly can, that we then just are able to manage it. Now it just feels a bit obviously everything's just, we're meeting quite often and we're talking quite often as a board and so it's non-stop, but I think we all love it, don't we? It's why we joined.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, from my side, and I think you'll agree, like there's been all this kind of like, factions in the fan base and kind of like sniping, and we're not in the pubs and we're not in the ground and we're not able to kind of rally together in that way. And there's been this divisiveness, particularly on Twitter, which I realize is not necessarily the real world, and for a lot of people they might not use Twitter at all, which is like you're probably like such an enriched person in your life because I spend so much time on there. But I have been, obviously that it's not for everyone and some people are very vocal about that, but I've just been so overwhelmed with the positivity. And I just really hope we can keep that momentum going. Yeah. As you say, this is it's an ongoing thing. So month on month, we're going to see loads of the money that's come in, not all of it, but loads of it is divided. So we're going to see that, increase month on month. Spread the word if you're watching this and you think, oh, my dad might be interested in that and he's not on Twitter or whatever. Spread the word. It's a grower. We need to keep growing this because we have a real opportunity here, I think. Dean Anderson says, morning guys, well done on the pledge scheme. It's been a great start. A win to top it off would be great. Yeah, that would be really nice. This is after Fulham on was it Friday night Fulham played? Yeah. We have a real opportunity here to properly steer clear of the relegation zone. So of course I'm sure we'll only get a point, but but fingers crossed. What do you say? I've seen a couple of people on Twitter this morning, Thomas, one of which I replied to, saying that are the trust board just going to go on holiday when this fails? Obviously no, because no one can go on holiday. But remind people watching what the plan is if this does fail, which of course we all hope that it does not.
Yeah, so obviously, the guardians who are in charge of it, for anyone that doesn't know, obviously Warren Barton, George Calkin, Ian Menz, the MP, and Lee Humble, they'll sort of make a recommendation to the board that it probably shouldn't continue, or, maybe put it to a vote to the members, and it'll be the members that decide when the time comes if the pledge was to continue or not. At which point, if it doesn't, then obviously with the members' approval, the money will be donated to local charities in the North East. I would love to use some of the money for my wedding that's coming up, but I won't because that's obviously not what it's for. No one's taken anything from it, definitely. So it's looked after. It's guarded by professional people, credible people who will obviously guide this through and keep us on the right path.
Yeah, for what it's worth, to people who are worried about that, I don't know how to get the money out of there. I'm a board member, and I wouldn't know the first thing about. I don't even know I could probably find out, but I don't know the bank details of the pledge where the money. Like, I wouldn't be able to go anywhere near it. The guardians we've appointed are four really credible, really proper people. Yeah. Who I think you should feel comfortable. People who feel comfortable putting their money into it. Good question from Gail saying, I have pledged. Gail loves this show. Hi, Gail. I have pledged, but loads of mates, relations who aren't part of Newcastle United Supporters Trust because they don't want to be and therefore don't have voting rights. Why can't everyone who pledged vote on the funds? Thomas, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so obviously the way that the constitution of the trust, and obviously the money is controlled by the Supporters Trust. If we were able to buy a share in the club, then it would obviously be owned by the Supporters Trust, but governed by the members. The members would have the final say. The reason for this, it's just in our rules, and that's why the membership is as cheap as it possibly can be. It's £1. We hope that that's not too much of a burden on people that do pledge. And it's just so that everything stays within the law. We are, register with the Financial Conduct Authority. We need to follow certain rules, and that's why we have to stick by the constitution of the trust. And hopefully, as I say, people that have pledged like the idea and therefore support the trust and would be willing to just give £1 a year to be able to have a say on where that money goes.
Absolutely, and it has to be sort of highlighted that it is it's a trust scheme. It's run by the trust. This money is going to be managed by the trust. We, as a trust, have launched it, and that is thanks, Gail. He loves the show, and that's why you have to be a member of the trust to have a vote on what eventually happens with the money. You don't have to join if you don't want to, and don't mind not having a say in the end of what happens. You don't have to. You can pledge if you just think, well, good for them. Let them do it. You can pledge a one-off, or you can set up a direct debit. It's just, the point is, if you want a say, if you want a vote, and it doesn't it's one person, one vote. Like, it doesn't have a you can't buy more votes kind of thing. But if you do want to say with that money, you should join the trust. We're a nice group of people trying to do good things for this fan base, so I understand if people have are reticent about it. But if you want to ask questions, we're here. You can email board@nufctrust.co.uk. Thomas will get on the phone with you. I will get on the phone with you. We can have a conversation. We're here we're not hiding behind any smoke screen. Happy to chat you through it and talk through the scheme and the membership and things like that. Paul G says, great to see international payments working now, pledged yesterday from Munich. Dankeschön, Paul. Fantastic scheme, which I'm super excited about. We're excited to spread the word. We've got lots of things planned. When the world opens up, we're going to do events and things like that, which I'm really excited about because I love planning and I love an event. We'll do them, in Newcastle, hopefully in London as well. And then, Adam, who is on the board, is also in North America, so there's potential there. And I know there's fan groups who support it all over, so it's very exciting. So many people asking about the game today. So I know that Norman's in the wings. I see Norman in the wings there. I'm going to make you talk about today's game then, Thomas, for 2 minutes before I let you go. And I'm going to bring Norman in as well. Hiya, Norman.
Morning. Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
Morning.
Hi, Norman.
Unrelated to the trust, but thoughts on the team news, not rushing Wilson and Allen or playing for the draw, do you think? What do you think, Thomas? Do you think it's playing for a draw, that team lineup?
I must admit, I was worried that Maxi and Wilson weren't fully fit anyway. So it probably is a little bit of a case of not rushing them back. I think, going what we've learned in the past few months is that I think the club will see a draw today as a very, very good result. I don't think they'll be pushing that, too heavy for the win. I think they'll definitely not want to lose this game. For me, though, a win would be absolutely massive because it puts it to bed. So, in terms of the relegation, but I'm glad to see Gail. I'm glad to see he hasn't changed it, and it's Gail's still in there because I think he still needs a run of games as well.
What do you think, Norman?
First of all, there's a small deer grazing on your head. Look, if I just move my head like that, look, there you go. Get stuck in, son. Get stuck into my head. How do I feel about the hair? How do I feel about the team? I'll tell you what, right? I don't believe that Steve Bruce necessarily sets up his sides to win games in the first instance. I believe that he sets up his sides not to lose, right? There's a bit of a difference there psychologically. And I think today, that lineup, look, I can understand why Wilson, Maximan are on the bench, right? Because obviously they've both had lengthy layoffs. We don't need to rush them back. I get that. But ultimately, if they're fit enough to be on the bench, then for me, in a game as vitally important as this, because you look at the other games, right? You look at Leicester, you look at Man City, you look at Liverpool, like to a certain extent, what's the point in saving them for those games, right? Because those games are probably going to be write-offs, right? That's the reality of the situation. So Burnley, Sheffield United, Fulham, for example, Burnley, they're the games that we ought to be looking to pick the points up in. So this is vitally important. And as far as I'm concerned, if those two are fit enough to be on the bench, then I would like to have seen them started. Of course, I do get the logic behind it, but we're in desperate need of something, right? And those two players, their presence on the pitch, even if for the first 45 minutes, just gives that lift at kickoff. It gives the lift at kickoff. So that it is a little frustrating. And it is very much a case of, okay, we're looking to get to half-time at 0-0 and then see what can happen. First and foremost, let's get into half-time 0-0. And ultimately, that is a little bit of a negative attitude to take into a game. I may be completely wrong, but it's just how I read the situation, and it is a little frustrating. And I genuinely believe that Almiron, Willock, Maximan, Wilson, they are the most dynamic players, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if they're in the squad, they're surely fit enough to do 45 minutes. So I would have liked to have seen them start.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thomas, I promised you could go at 1:15, so I will let you go. You just click out the browser. You just
No
leave
problem.
us.
Pleasure to meet you, Thomas, by the way. We've never met. So
You too, mate. You too.
Before you go, Thomas, what's your prediction for the score?
I'll go 1-1.
Okay, big goals aplenty. All right, thanks so much for joining, and take care. Enjoy.
See you later.
There we go. That's Thomas from NUFC Trust Board talking a little bit about the pledge scheme which we launched this week, and giving us his sort of immediate reaction to the lineup. Just go for the win, for fuck's sake. Bruce hasn't got a clue. Yeah, I think you're right, Norman. What you say there is really interesting. I'm just going to mute you because we have this problem with a bit of an echo, and it's always just me. It's not Norman, it's my fault. Yeah, I think you're right. It would have been nice to, and I think also kind of frightened Burnley to start with, to put our sort of most impactful players in the starting lineup, even if it is only for 45 minutes, and make changes at half time. But Norman, you've said that, but I think you forgot that Steve Bruce is allergic to making a substitution before the 75th minute.
I did, didn't I? Damn it. I'll tell you what, right? Wilson and Maximan, when we beat them 3-1 at home, and Alex made this point, it was yesterday, they absolutely brutalised Burnley, right? That Burnley couldn't cope with them. So, again, that's another reason I would like to have seen them on the pitch at the start, given that they're clearly available. However, what I suppose what you would counter that last game against Burnley with is that they didn't have either Tarkowski or me in the lineup. I don't think they're centre halves, and those two centre halves are incredibly important to Burnley. Their really poor start of the season was when both of those players were missing. Tarkowski's an excellent defender. He's played for England. He's a really, really good defender. Mee isn't necessarily a good player in many respects in terms of his actual football and ability, but he's clearly a leader, right? So they've got him in the side, and he's a really important player. And I just think that those two centre-halves back in the Burnley side, us without the threat of Wilson and Maximan from the kick-off, means that the first half is going to be easier for them than it could have been. And that's what's a little frustrating. And it's one of those where, okay, keep it tight, let's get to half-time, then let's utilise Maximan and Wilson. It's really risky, right? Because obviously Burnley, as poor as they are in terms of the points they've picked up, they've got tools in the armoury that can damage us. And that, Dwight McNeil, Chris Wood, both very dangerous players. So I am a little concerned that actually we mightn't get into half time 0-0, and then that kind of rips up what seems to be the game plan. However, I've just seen a comment from, I think, A2 there, who has said one positive is Kraft isn't playing. I'll tell you what,
I was going to put that on.
That is a small mercy. That is a small mercy indeed.
Ash says, enjoy your Sunday. I cancelled Sky when Rafa got to walk away. Nothing will change until you boycott giving Ashley money. Fair enough. Send your money to the 1892 pledge scheme, Ash. We're trying to make a difference. It's a different approach. I get it. Lovely weather where I am. So if you're not watching the game, go out and have a nice walk. I am going to watch it. I'm going to talk to myself at this game. Tim Wood says, get into them. These are shite. 1-3 Newcastle win. How are the lads? # positive vibes. Do you feel positive, Norman? Are you able to talk yourself into this?
Well, now that I've seen that message, definitely feeling the positive vibes. You know what? The thing is, I'm not negative, right? I'm not negative about it, right?
Yeah.
But as much as I would like to be really positive, the reality is like that positivity would be borne out by facts. And we've won 2 games in 22. Therefore, I can't necessarily get excited at the prospect of us being really good, because I just don't think we will be. That's borne out by how we've played, right? But at the same time, do I believe Burnley are there for the taking? Of course I do. They're not, this is a side that's only a few points above us. They're very beatable. As I say, we battered them earlier on in the season. And look, 2 wins in 22 suggests that this is no longer the case, right? But ultimately, Bruce's Newcastle have pulled some mad results out the bag when totally unexpected, right? I mean, you think Sheffield United the year before, they were flying Sheffield United. I think if they'd beaten us, they would have gone possibly into the top 4, at least up to 5th. And we beat them 2-0, right? Completely from absolutely out of the blue. Even the Everton result, to a certain extent, was out of the blue. So that kind of hope always lingers. So today, I'm approaching this match, and my general feeling is that I'm not feeling like we're going to lose. A lot of the games this season, I've felt like, we'll lose. But after the decent performance against Spurs, and based on the fact that our opponent's Burnley, and at least that Maximan and Wilson are back in the squad, I don't feel negative. I'll probably feel ambivalent. So I suppose under Steve Bruce, feeling ambivalent is feeling positive, right?
Yeah, you have to recalibrate everything under Steve Bruce. Joe Linton's a decent player when he has a reasonable game.
Bruce's window.
Yeah, exactly. A2 says, is Shelvey Bruce's illegitimate son, perhaps? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
From his back. Yeah.
That does. I don't want to. I was going to start talking about how that might have happened, but I really don't want to.
Like an orc, like how the Uruk-hai in Lord of the Rings are created. Like the kind of like Sauron gets a load of elves and basically bastardizes them, and then grows them from the ground. Maybe like Steve Bruce created John Joe Shelvey in his allotment.
Yeah, maybe. Doesn't he have a farm in Cheshire or something?
Well, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
He's growing antagonistic, inconsistent players.
I'm all for it.
In the ground. But it is a question I wanted to ask you, Norman. Now that Lascelles is out probably for the rest of the season and Shelvey has been given that captain's armband, lots of people online over this last week, even before the Lascelles news came out, that saying that they thought Matt Ritchie should have the captain's armband, that they thought Matt Ritchie has a much more commanding presence on the pitch, can organise people a bit better than John Joe Shelvey. To what extent do you agree? And then a follow-up question to that, do you think the captain's armband really matters that much?
Right. The way I look at Shelvey as a captain, I can only base it on what I see, right, on the pitch, and what we can, I guess, take from how players seem to interact when they're on the pitch, right? And having watched, obviously, Shelvey in the flesh on many occasions, having watched them on TV, you never get the impression that he's a leader, right? You don't see him shouting, organising, encouraging. In fact, what you do tend to see with Shelvey is a lot of the time is if a pass goes astray from someone to him, or he passes to someone and they don't kind of get on at the pass, he seems to be more of a complainer than an encourager. That may have changed, but it's only what I've observed, right? Now, obviously, I don't know what happens on that training ground. I don't know what it's like in that dressing room. Shelvey may well be loved by many, respected by many of his teammates, right? And that might be the logic behind it. You look at Fabrizio Colaccini, he wasn't necessarily a shouty captain. However, what I would say about Colaccini was not only was he a very cultured defender, he was also an organiser. You could see him organising. He did it. He was I would say a kind of intellectual footballer on many levels, right? Whether or not Shelvey's like that, I don't know. I haven't seen on the pitch somebody who to me looks like a captain. And do I think it's important? Look, I do think it's important. Like Lascelles, for example, I think actually his best season as a Newcastle player, his best seasons were obviously the promotion season and the immediate season after, come back in the Premier League. And to a certain extent, there was a few games under Rafa when Rafa named him captain when we almost avoided relegation. He was a real leader, he was someone who was very vocal and as I say, he led, but the past couple of seasons, as his confidence has drained, again, you're looking at him on the pitch and you're thinking, actually, he doesn't look like he's that kind of presence that he was. And I think if you've got a player on the pitch, especially in a relegation battle like we are now, right, who is that kind of that presence, that awe-inspiring presence, right? It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their footballing ability. It's their leadership. And we don't seem to have leaders. And John Joe Shelvey, to me, and I might be old-fashioned, yeah, right, in how I perceive a captain on the pitch, I don't believe he is that leader. And I think right now, in this relegation battle, it's absolutely vitally important to have that kind of organisational, vocal person on the pitch. And at Newcastle right now, I look at that team, and I guess Richie's probably the one I say who's got at least the passion for it, right? Whether or not he's got the ability to kind of organise, I don't know. I'd probably say looking at the players now. For me, someone's put Dubravka. Never been a massive fan of a keeper as a captain. And right now, I look at that team, and I'd probably gone with Fede Fernandez. That'd be my personal choice.
Yeah, I think
I'm going to mute this because I need to blow my nose.
Yes. Mute away. Oh
no.
Norman, you didn't mute yourself. You just removed me. You removed me from my own show.
Yeah. 43 years old, dead good with technology.
What was I going to say? I'm going to mute you because of the echo. Yeah, I think somebody said Shelvey's temperament isn't suited to being captain at all. I agree. I like a captain who's at the back in defence because they've got the whole game in front of them and can organise a little bit better that way. I just think, I mean, it doesn't matter because, you know, other captains in other positions work fine. But I just kind of like that sort of like looking at the game from the back. That's why I like the idea of Dubravka. And I also like Dubravka because, and I've said it lots of times before, the reason I love him so much is that game that I went to, and I think it was a Burnley game at St. James's Park, and I was really close to the goal, and you could just hear him organising and watching and sorting people out. So that's why he gets my vote. Paul says thanks for the close-up nose blow. You are welcome. Yeah, I think the temperament question or comment is a really good one. Shelvey's temperament isn't suited. I don't know that Matt Ritchie's is either, because I think he has the tendency to lose his head a little bit. I think Shelvey can get quite like grumpy and just like kick about the pitch and not really get into it, where on the other hand I think Richie can get quite angry and like annoyed with the game and then gets into his own head that way. So I don't know that I would give him the captain's armband either. I think Fernandez is a great shout, actually, Norman. I hadn't considered it, but he would be great. I
also imagine that Richie, and again, I suppose you see evidence of this on occasion, he does, I would say, scream at other players. He screams at them on the pitch, right? And the reality is that sometimes, yes, some players do need that kind of, let's call it violent cajoling, right? We'll call it violent cajoling because words can be violent, right?
Oh yeah.
Whereas others, it's not best suited to their personalities. You know, you need that kind of positive reinforcement and encouragement, right? So what you need, I guess, in a captain. And look, again, we're maybe overblowing the importance of it, but I'm only looking at the importance of a captain in the context of a relegation battle. And ultimately, what you have to throw in that as well is they're not really getting any kind of leadership from the sidelines, right? It's not like you've got a manager on the sidelines who is organising, who is encouraging, who is cajoling, who is kind of reading the game and, you know, like making tiny tactical changes, telling players to close down space, telling players to mark with their players. They're not getting that, right? So to a certain extent, in this particular team, the captain could, if we had like the right captain in place, play a hugely pivotal role. And I just don't see Shelvey being that man. And I don't necessarily, as I say us having that on the pitch. And anyways, but for me, Fede Fernandez, with his experience and really with his ability as well, and his kind of capacity to look like a leader would be my personal choice. I'll tell you what I'll compare it to, right? The Leicester City relegation battle, the season before they won the title. 2014-15 this would have been, I think. They were in deep trouble, right? And then Esteban Cambiasso, legendary Argentinian footballer, played at Real Madrid, played at Inter Milan. He came to Leicester, he was like 34. He got fit, right? Even English wasn't necessarily his first language, but what he was on that pitch when he came in that team, he was a focal point, he was a leader, he organised them, and their results just picked up like that. And that's what we lack, is that kind of player who can really have that impact from a leadership perspective. So for me, captain's really important, and I don't feel Shelby's the man. I might be wrong. I hope I am.
Yeah. It's a good point. And also I kind of wanted to make the point, which I think you've kind of made before, Norman, that for some players, the confidence given to them by being given the captain's armband, particularly Lascelles, I think, that's sort of like, you've got this. I think you can see that translate onto the pitch. This sort of like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. For certain confidence players, I think if Fernandes was given it, I think he'd really rise to it, is what I'm kind of trying to say to that. And lots of people saying that they love the passion that Richie shows. Gil wants to know your thoughts on Bruce's psychological approach to this game in the context of the Berlin School of Experimental Psychology. If you've...
I can comment. I can comment on that. And actually, I probably wouldn't go for the Berlin School on this. I'd probably look at Guy Debord's Society of the Spectacle, in that what Bruce is doing is he is creating such a spectacle through his behaviour that he's actually taking our focus off what we ought to really be doing, which is creating a revolution. However, it hasn't worked because the 1892 pledge is a revolutionary movement, right? So Bruce, you can try and create that spectacle as much as you want. You can read the Guy Debord works as much as you want. We've seen beyond it.
I saw a tweet recently where somebody had gone to this French philosopher's talk, and they talked about cows the entire time, and everyone was really like making notes and was like, really weird that they're talking about cows this whole time. And then they came back after a break and were like, I'm told it's pronounced chaos. And people had been like, wow, cows, okay, cows. But it was weird.
Cow theory.
Ian Lazari says, Fernandes great, but does he personally have the confidence to step up to that role? Well, that's kind of the point I was trying to make very clunkily before, is that I think it could give him that nudge. Like if somebody, Bruce or maybe Graham Jones, said, you're captain, we think you can do this. I wonder if he would step up and be like, yeah, I fucking can. And then he'd be really good. That's a theory. Don't know if would happen.
He's captain before Fernandes, right? He has led the club. I think actually Newcastle, one of the most pleasing aspects for me at Newcastle is because obviously I love Argentina. I think we've had more Argentine captains than any other Premier League club. Fernandes has led the club. Colaccini has. Gutierrez has. So there you go. And I'm certain that he has. And I think he may well have captained Swansea in the past as well. I think. Look, it's a good question from Ian, but I think Fernandes is one of those players who has that, as I said before, that kind of quiet confidence, as opposed to it being really kind of over the top and obvious. I think he's got the quiet confidence, and I think that would see us in better stead than perhaps Shelby. But again, we may well be overstating the importance of a captain.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's that kind of this sort of feel of this sort of mix, like give the captain's armband to X, do this, and then some people being like, captain doesn't really matter, like just doesn't matter. Alex Hurst is going to join us very shortly, which is very exciting to talk about the match. Oh no, Norman, you're shaking your head. You shook your head at that.
Oh no, I didn't. I said lead have the free world.
All right. Excellent. Shall I bring him in? I'll bring him in. Look at his little name that he's given himself on here. Alex Hurst, NUFC board member.
Yeah.
I guess.
Do you? Okay, you can keep that if that's how you'd like to. We've just gone with Charlotte and Norm, but you want to keep this professional. I get it. Hi, Alex. Thank you for joining us. I mean, not sorry to make fun of you the moment you enter. What are we doing? Are we on a roller coaster?
Having some camera issues. The Chronicle's much more professional. I'm used to these like high standards where they would, make me move my camera and stuff like that. I got trapped in that mindset of Andrew Musgrove in his professional journalist world. Apologies.
Wow. Okay.
Living it with true faith.
You've changed it. You've really changed.
Actually feels like a sort of a backhand, like a sort of punch in my face because I'm not professional.
No, we are professional. We don't pretend to be, do we? When we do the free podcast after the show, if people are expecting professionalism, Norman, what will they find?
Norman doesn't have an answer.
No.
Davey says 90% hair now, Alex. There's a lot of chat about Alex's hair after we launched the pledge scheme and on Thursday, and obviously there's lots of bits of media. Alex was on ITV, and loads of people being like, "God, he's got so much hair." Like, well,
you know that you know that famous drone that you can get of kind of evolution of man. You know, from Neanderthal to whatever Cro-Magnon right up to now. There's going to be a new T-shirt design with a kind of silhouette of Alex at the end of it. I think that's where we're heading, right?
That must be where we're heading.
Yeah.
Detract slightly from the gigantic fan-led project that we launched, Alex. So next time we do something like this, I would suggest getting the hairdressers open.
Yeah, I don't know. Next time we'll try not to have a global pandemic if we can. If that's in our power.
Alex, have you seen the lineup? What do you make of the lineup?
Terrible, of course. Bruce has played Burnley. I think you got 2 games this season. 2 games when Newcastle genuinely played well and really deserved to win. Burnley at home and Everton away. Now Everton almost just kind of forgot how to play football and was so shocked by us not playing any strikers. Plus, you had Callum Wilson putting in the performance of a lifetime. Realistically, at the end of his career, to look back, and in terms of influence in the Premier League game, that is going to be right up there. And then you had Burnley at home, where they really struggled with Wilson and St Maximan. Really struggled with players carrying the ball from the wing into the middle of the pitch. They only had fouls. And today we're playing 5 at the back. It just, I was just checking my stats there. We've won 2 of our last 26 Premier League games playing 5 at the back. And I think Burnley are delighted with the team sheet. But let's say I'm still looking forward to it. Let's say, Bruce just has to win today. If he wants to sit there and pretend that a draw's a win again, it's just laughable, because with the fixtures that we'll have coming up, it's ridiculous if we don't win. He has to win some games of football. I've never seen an individual so competent at talking up a record in which he fails to do the primary objective of his job. It's just incredible.
I think you're forgetting that Turf Moor is a difficult place to come. And it's, Sean Dyche's team is...
Every game, remember. There are noisy games.
Sorry to jump in. I think Sean made this point on the preview podcast. Alex, just saying we need to get wins from somewhere. Genuinely, mate. The way Fulham have massively hit the panic button in the last few weeks. The moment that people started targeting with Fulham staying up is the moment that form dipped massively, right? So there's clearly an issue there in terms of the pressure that they're putting on themselves. And I'm starting to be swayed by the opinion of Sean, as I say on the preview podcast, that we could probably end up drawing ourselves to safety, right? Given that there's that 3-point gap at the minute, and given that we've got 2 more games than Fulham, we could pretty much end up not winning a game between now and the last game of the season against Fulham, and going into that game 2 or 3 points ahead of them, which is an absolute madness. And look, it probably won't happen. But what I mean is that it just seems to me at the minute that neither Fulham nor Newcastle can buy you in from anywhere, and it's almost like the pair of them are kind of in the back of their minds thinking it's just going to come down to this game, isn't it? It's just going to come down to this game. We've got Sheffield United at home. If we can't beat Sheffield United at home, we deserve to get relegated. But I said a mad one to you yesterday that I think West Brom are back in it, and I feel like over WhatsApp you laughed at us, but I still think they've got a part to play precisely because of the fact that Fulham and Newcastle can't buy wins, and West Brom the kind of breaks off a little bit in terms of them not feeling the pressure.
Yeah. Alex, you did laugh a little bit there when Norman said that. Do you not agree?
No, but Norman, but I understand, because he's right that if they win today, then it's 2 wins in a row, and all of a sudden needing to win 4 of the last 8 games doesn't seem so difficult when you've won 2 in a row. So it's a massive game for them today. I mean, Norman told me yesterday they were 18-1 to stay up. They're 18-1 for a reason. That's probably I think they're quite short odds, to be honest, because I just think they're relegated. But I think as well, Norman, you made a really good point about Fulham and about pressure. What I worry about, and listen, let's win today. Do you know what I mean? I just want to win today. I'm not happy with the team. I'm not about the formation. But you know what, Steve Bruce, go and prove it all wrong. Go and just win a game of football. Go and win. However, if we lose today, what I worry about, Norman, is Fulham pulling one result out of somewhere, and all of a sudden, for the first time this season, we're in that relegation zone. Now, the previous 2 times we got relegated, once we got in that relegation zone, we didn't get out. And I think that's a whole football club mentality. That's what I'm concerned about. So we're having this conversation now. We win today, like you say, Norman. What are we, 6 points ahead of them? With, I mean, a game in hands, Man City, but still, we're 6 points ahead of them. It's almost impossible to get relegated from that point. And that's why today's such a big game. And that's why I'm so dismayed to see him play such a defensive formation against such a bad team. But I worry that Fulham pull one result out of anywhere, like they did a few weeks ago against Everton and someone else, and we enter that bottom 3. And do you think Steve Bruce has the mental strength to pull everyone together and improve the team's fortunes? I'm not so sure. So today will tell a lot, won't it?
Aye.
Yeah, I think so. Alex or Norman, either of you. Oh, my eyes twitching again. Oh, it feels so weird. Do you think that the reason we are playing this kind of formation today is because we did it last week and it was okay?
That'll definitely be an element of it, because obviously with Bruce never looks at the opponent, right? He looks at what's happened in the previous game, right? So if we've been absolutely shockingly bad, it doesn't matter how we're playing next week. There'll be like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I'm talking like Bruce there, by the way. Changes to the lineup, right? There might be a change in formation, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the opposition. The only way it might is if, let's say, for example, we play, I don't know, a bottom half side. Let's say we play Crystal Palace and then my next game is against Liverpool. He might then switch from 4 at the back to 5 at the back, right? But ultimately, a lot of the time, the game that we're coming into, the formation, the tactical setup, is a reaction to the previous game, right? If the previous game was our eat, which Spurs was, then that's fine, and that's how we play against Burnley. Another thing I would say as well about the 5 at the back today, and it ties into what Alex mentioned there about us potentially being 6 points ahead of Fulham if we win. On many levels, I think the fact that the mentality you've gone there not to get beat means a draw, right? That's a minimum draw. So that's a point. A draw will be a good result. In the Premier League, a draw away from home for Steve Bruce, regardless of the opposition, regardless of the context, is a good result, right? It's good. So we're going away to Burnley. Get a draw. That gap's 4 points. What's that 4-point gap? It means that if Fulham win the next game, they're still in the bottom 3. So that for us is good. So for me today, that lineup suggests somebody who's looking at the game going, we just need to get a point. We just need to get a point. And that's how I interpret the lineup today. Whereas ultimately, we should be looking at Burnley and going, get in there, get the best players out, get 3 points, 6 points ahead, bang. But no, as you say, Charlotte, previous game against Spurs, upcoming opposition against Burnley, let's get 1 point ahead. That's how I look at the logic of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's just so mental because literally everybody I spoke to, I speak to about the football, it's like Burnley play this way. They play this kind of 4-4-2. They're not very good. They don't, setting up at 5 at the back is a terrible idea. Like every single person, just look at the way that Burnley play. I just think it's insane. I don't know. You think, I won't be surprised by what happens in the lineup this weekend. And every time you are.
What I find particularly frustrating about this formation is where does Maximan fit into it? You can't play in the 3-man midfield, so you get to put as a striker where he's least effective. Where does Miguel and Miron fit into this? The guy who's played his best football for Newcastle in a forward-facing position, he's playing central midfield again today, and it's like think about the 5 at the back formation. The key is the 3 centre backs, and I get it. Burnley have got 2 strikers with mobility who understand how to play against each other. But you're going to have to try and score a goal. And we went, Charlotte, last time to Burnley, didn't we? When we went to Burnley away last season, it's a long time ago now, 2019. And Burnley had lost. They conceded something like 12 or 13 goals in the previous 3 games. They were a really low ebb. And you could tell they didn't want to pass to each other. The crowd were nervous. Now, those situations aren't applicable today, but we went with the same formation then against Burnley. It didn't work. It simply did not work, that formation against Burnley in that game. So why will today be different? But I hope I'm wrong. like we'll kick off in 15 minutes, don't we? But we'll all find out soon enough. But it's just, I agree with Norman. It's the lack of thought that goes into it. It's the way that you almost get the feeling he's just turned up on a Thursday or something, taken 3 or 4 days off, turned up on a Thursday and thought, right, lads, same as last week. Champion, Graham, Cohen's out. I'll see you on Sunday for the match.
Maybe. A2 says you can't put ASM in a midfield 3. Alex, don't underestimate the power of Bruce Ball. He's played Fraser and Almiron as central defensive midfield. All bets are off with this imbecile. And then Synovius says 5 at the back can work versus Burnley if we push the wing backs high and the 3 centre backs can deal with the 2 strikers. Brighton did it against our 4-4-2 second game of the season. I suppose so. It depends when we've got the ball or not. Alex, do you agree or not?
Yeah, 2 years ago, 2018, I went to Burnley on a Monday night and we played that 5 at the back formation under Rafa against almost the same Burnley team. They hardly ever sign any players. I swear they just use the same 11 blokes for the past 5 years in the Premier League. And what Synovius is saying is spot on. And Burnley really, really struggled to contain. I think it was Yedlin and Ritchie that night. Both had fantastic games, and also playing the wing backs. And I think it was possibly Atsu and Perez that night, doubling up against Burnley's wingers. It really stopped Burnley getting balls into the box, which is their main way of scoring. And Chris Wood ended up scoring a header from outside the penalty area, which was brilliant header, because they were delivering the ball from deeper and deeper into their own half. So it can work. I'm just not convinced it will. With this.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to have faith in the players and the guidance and the people on the touchline. Norman, your fingers went up.
Just a couple of points. It can work, no doubt. My concern is that obviously Jacob Murphy, who I think ought to be in the side. I mean, I think he ought to be in the side in a 4-4-2 formation, or at least with as a right midfielder or winger, right? That's where he ought to play, because that's where he's effective. Can he play at wing back? I mean, I guess he can, because he has reached. But my concern is that Dwight McNeil will be able to get him behind him so many times. And look, the reality is, if McNeil is allowed to put balls in the box, on a consistent basis, given Chris Wood's ability, something will happen, right? Something will happen. I mean, if McNeil's whipping 4 or 5 crosses in the box in the first half, I can't see a situation where Wood doesn't get on the end of at least 2 or 3 of those, right? Because that's how they play, and that it's almost like by playing a right midfielder / right winger as a right wing back, you're basically giving them exactly what they want. It ties in what Alex said before, is when Dyche looks at that team sheet, he's probably thinking, nice one. And I think that'll be one of the reasons to say, yeah, we can target that side of the pitch, because there's going to be space. Dwight McNeil's up against a player who isn't a defender, right? And the other issue is that obviously if McNeil's having a bit of a field day and Murphy gets a bit wild and he's tackling, because he's not a defender, right? He's not used to putting in that many tackles. There's always the chance that he could pick up a booking early on, and that again curtails his ability to put tackles in later during the game. So that will be my concern. And a quick question: can either of you to remind me, when we beat Burnley away at that time, playing this formation, was Mo Diarmi on the side?
Yeah, he was. He had a brilliant game.
There you go. So
he played Diarmi and Key.
So you can Mo Diarmi, right? Not only have you got Key, who was like a calm presence on the ball and can lay a pass out. Mo Diarmi, the difference that he made to that side with that formation, it's unquantifiable.
Alex will agree with you, Mrs. Mo.
And that's the thing, that who knows whether Mo Diarmi is still any good at football. Same with Key. They're both not playing in the Premier League, but that formation we played then worked because you had Diarmi and Key, or Hayden and Longstaff, basically doing a hell of a lot of defensive work, and John Joe Shelby was nowhere near the side as the result. But who have we got today? In the mid, we've got a midfield 3, but we've got Almiron and Shelby in that midfield 3.
I would also say that worked because we had a different manager. I think.
And Mo Vieira's just made me really giggle.
Mo Vieira, we still miss him. Evan Cashman says, Sky gave a sentence about us and a sentence about Burnley. That's the pre-match on a premium channel. That's why you join us, Evan. That's why you come to the Charlotte Show and bask in us despairing at Steve Bruce. And also, we're about 10 minutes out, so we'll do a few more minutes. We'll get predictions and then we'll let everybody go and enjoy maybe the match. Mark's watching, and I put it on the screen just before. Bruce blaming injuries again. Obviously, Bruce has done his pre-match comments now. Really, really weird thing to do.
Who was injured apart from themselves? Is anyone else injured? Fraser, who he doesn't really play anyway.
Is Hendrick injured? Because he's not. I think he must be. Although I'm applying logic here, where logic does not exist in the Steve Bruce universe.
He's just got injuries, hasn't he? He just like in his head when he hears a report, he sees a microphone, he says injuries. It's like subconscious thing.
Injuries, just that one.
COVID.
Well, COVID and injuries, you know.
It's almost like no other, sector of society has been affected by COVID or injuries other than like Steve Bruce's Newcastle. It's like, oh, we've had it worse than anyone. Like there are like basically parts of the world where COVID is just running completely rampant because they don't have the kind of social infrastructure to cope with it. But it's been worse in like anyone than it has anywhere else. And so you've got to feel for him. You've got to feel for him.
It's the same with fans in the ground. Worse for us. Everyone's the same, but it's worse for us. It's just worse. Even though everyone hates Bruce. Paul's point on the screen's funny. If Hendrick was injured and playing, I wouldn't notice. I wouldn't notice if he was injured compared to being fully fit.
Amazing. Paul's comment, for those of you just listening to the audio, because I always put the audio on our Patreon platform. If you're not a patron, become a patron. It's such a nice little group of people listening to us natter on about Newcastle United and other things. Norman does Prem Patter every week. We do a CNN show. Alex does State of Play. Oh, my Amazon deliveries here. Injuries are why we're shit. We've had so many injuries. Okay, that's why, Norman. Do you want to talk about that while I go to the door?
I'd love to. It's ridiculous. There's no logic and there's no sense. Any other team in the Premier League that struggles could literally say the same thing, because most teams go through a season suffering from injuries to key players. When Newcastle played Burnley earlier on in the season at St James's Park and we tore them apart, I don't recall Dyche whinging stupidly about the fact that Tarkowski and me were missing from his side. Football injuries are part and parcel of the game. As much as Jurgen Klopp's gone off the rails this season, I don't think I've heard him whinge about Van Dijk for 1 second. He's bigged up. He's bigged up players like Nat Phillips, who are clearly, not Liverpool quality players. So for Bruce, it's just an excuse. There's nothing else to it. Do we miss Maximan and Wilson? Of course we do. But it's not like when Maximan and Wilson have been in the side, we've been playing this free-flowing football, picking up loads of points. We're still poor. We've still been shocking. That's the brutal reality, right?
Yeah, I really love the words whinging stupidly. Whinging stupidly about injuries. That is just so brilliant. That's exactly what he's doing. Apologies, everybody, for that. I didn't expect that to happen. Paul says, my peroxide's arrived. If you think I am doing this to myself, you're desperately wrong. The back of my hair is about this long because I tried to do it to myself last year and it all snapped off. So no. Gil has a man crush on you, Norman. He's going to become a patron just for that. Well, that's probably my most powerful.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. Flattery always gets me. So thank you, Gil. I love you too.
Oh, that's nice. Most of our patrons are patrons because they've got man crushes on Norman. When Rafa came in, he worked to reduce injuries because we're having 2 more avoidable ones. Bruce enjoys having them as an excuse. I'm sure that he does like having them as an excuse. It's just ready-made, isn't it? As Alex says, as soon as a microphone goes in front of his face, he's just like, hamstring. Joseph Gardner out in Oregon says it's before 4 a.m. here and I'm awake, but did I see Matt Ritchie is starting, or has the coffee not kicked in yet? Yes. Yes, he is. Yeah. Yeah, I had it up here. Right, we're about 6 minutes out from the big game. Lots of people saying an exciting 0-0. Bruce will be happy with that. Davey, that's Norman's brother. Hi, Tony. Norman's brother who did that great animation. He's one of the actors that we hired with Norman.
We're both available anytime. Just get in touch with Charlotte. She's my agent. Always happy to do voiceovers. The Riley brothers.
The Riley brothers. Oh, you'd be brilliant. Lots of people saying 0-0 all day long. 8-2, 0-0 with Bruce celebrating like he's won the Champions League. Alex, what's your prediction for the score in 2 hours' time?
I think it'll be 2-0 at Burnley.
Oh, God.
Whoa, bah.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Norman?
I'm going to say 0-0 as well, and it'll be spun like a victory because Bruce is convinced that the draw against Spurs was a victory as well. So 0-0, which will actually be a Newcastle win. And much like the defeat against Crystal Palace and Leeds were also not defeats.
Yeah, they don't count. They actually don't count. And another game for Bruce's unbeaten run. Joseph out in Oregon says 1-0 to us. I need an excuse to be up this early. I'm going to say 1-0 to us. Reagan, sure. Willett comes on and scores. Yeah, I'm going to say that our subs, our ASM, it's just going to be a mad substitution thing about 70 minutes. You're just going to throw them all on.
It'll be the same as last week where he had to go to a back four to try and get something from the game. And we played much better and created chances. Why not just do that from the start?
Because that makes sense, Alex.
Do you recall what he said to Willett when he sent him on last week?
Run around and score some goals.
That's the manager. All right, thanks everybody so much for watching. Once again, if you are interested in learning more about the pledge scheme, it's 1892pledge.co.uk. We are here to answer any questions you have. If you're nervous about giving us your money, understandable. We are here to help you with that. We're very excited about the scheme. We're less excited about the football game that we're about to watch, but hopefully we get something out of this. Take care, everybody, and we'll be back soon.